everybody. Hey, my name is Darius Anucauskas and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com. Look, we're done with November. Today's Friday. Today's the last trading day of the week and also the month. Now today's the 28th of November, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, welcome everyone. What can I say? It was a crazy month, and I think we had a lot of stuff happening. We had the U.S. government coming back from the shutdown. We had finally some data from U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, although I would say a little bit of questionable data, but nevertheless, we got something, right? Okay, look, I wanted to pick up on the commodity sector just to see what's happening, and it's probably the best day to pick up on that because, again, today we saw the CME group, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, going down for a few hours because one of their data centers had some cooling issue and everything. We didn't have any futures before the U.S. opening bell, and nothing was happening, nothing was moving. So you know what, we can actually take that and kind of see what's potentially happening and what could potentially happen. Sorry, what could potentially happen in December. So basically, we can have a little bit of a more calm technical view. Look, before we go any further, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest. I'm not going to disappear anywhere. Like I said, it was an interesting month. Certainly, it was crazy, and I think that December will be another one because it will be full of interest rate decisions from many major central banks, and that's something that I think the market needs to keep a close eye on because again, these are going to be the last interest rate decisions before the year ends. When we don't have much. And we don't have many trading days left in December. Anyway, so also before we go any further, just a quick mentioning of our Markets.com website, and the perfect image there pops up. So yeah, you can check us out for more information about us. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's straight away jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to pick up is gold, and look. I talked about this in my Markets Talk webinar, so where I said that look, we're forming something of a triangle, a symmetrical triangle pattern because we're stuck in between these two trend lines, and certainly this pattern looks a little bit more bullish because the prevailing trend is to the upside, and when we enter this formation, so greater chance for this one to break out is to the upside, and this is exactly what we're seeing today. However, that said, we need to wait to see what's going to happen, how this is going to close. Are we going to close above this upper side of the symmetrical triangle, or actually are we going to remain inside? Because if we do remain inside, then we get ourselves somewhat of a false breakout, and maybe we'll see it drift back down here. Maybe it will continue coiling up. Maybe it could still break out higher, but maybe not today, for example. So just keep that in mind. But again, for now, everything seems to be, like I said, pointing still towards the upside. Let's see if we can stay above this upper side. If we can, my next target is the 4,245 level here, marked by the current highest point of November. I have to still say that because we're not done officially with November. So the current highest point of November, and if that gets cleared, of course, it opens the door towards the current all-time high near the 4,381 zone-ish. That said, if we do clear the lower side of this symmetrical triangle, this kind of, and we also drop below the 4,000 kind of 46-ish zone, then that opens the door to some lower levels. But actually, you know what? I think maybe even the area around the 4,030. I think that could even be a little bit better, in terms of like trying to find a level, a breakout level, potential breakout level. So yeah, keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Now silver is a different animal, a little bit different animal, but it looks quite nice, and especially the fact that it's forming something of an ascending triangle pattern. Now, according to all the TA rules, such patterns tend to break to the upside. That said, as long as we remain inside the pattern, we're not really doing anything. Although, yes, overall it looks a little bit more bullish. The pattern tends to be somewhat of a bullish one. However, I've seen this happening many times where actually it just kind of, violates the lower side of it and moves to the downside. So that's what I'm saying. Just wait for the confirmation, And then another thing is like, if we do break the 54.4647 territory, that confirms a new all-time high. That will open the door to some higher levels, and we will then start considering, that kind of those levels in the uncharted territory, like 56 or 58 or maybe even 60. But again, all eyes are going to be on the way it's going to close the month, because if it's still going to, let's say if it's going to go for a new high, for a new all-time high, but still it will then drift back below this 54.4647 territory. To me, that would be a little bit of a bearish indication, to be honest. I mean, because it will tell me that, the bulls were strong, but then they got held by the bears, and actually at the end of the day they got pushed down by the bears. So long story short, for now, what can I say? I will say this way, that for now I'm just being careful, being cautious. I'm just observing the price action within the formation, and then I'll wait for the clearance of one of the sides, and then I'll get comfortable with the next short-term directional move. Now, very quickly on platinum. Now, you see, this is one of those cases where it was showing me that it's like a bearish pattern here, descending triangle pattern, but you can see it broke it to the upside. So in a way, that's kind of, like I said, it broke it to the downside, and it broke it to the upside, but it should theoretically break it to the downside. But there we go. That's what we get. Now, for now, I'm aiming higher. Certainly, we do have some interesting levels on the top here. Like, for example, this 1,662 territory, marked by the high of the 23rd of October. And if that gets cleared, yeah, I'm gonna go for this, the high of this, the highest point, the current highest point of this year, near the 1,731. Very quickly on Palladium. Now, Palladium is holding below still its downside line, which is drawn from the high of the 17th of October. Now, if it continues to hold, then I will kind of consider maybe some movement inside this pattern, and it still kind of puts me to that point where I'm gonna wait until I get some sort of clarity, some sort of a clear breakout. This breakout, yes, we can. At the moment, we're classing this as a false breakout, but of course, we still have the whole U.S. Session to go through, although a short one, but still a U.S. session to go through. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Very quickly on copper, it's breaking the upper side of the range here where it's currently trading in, and in a way it's kind of opening the door to some higher levels. So let's see if this is going to stay, if at the end of the trading session we will stay above this area, and if we do, then well, we could go further north in December. So you can see that this is the current all-time high. We're creating a new all-time high, and yep, let's see if we can go further north. And very quickly on US oil, so WTI oil. Look, what we have here is an interesting picture, because in a way, overall, we're looking quite bearish, right? We can see that the trading has resumed, but still waiting for that US opening bell, of course. But look, technically, from the technical side, we had a great run to the downside. We tested this upside line taken from the low of the 9th of April, but we rebounded from it. We rebounded, and now we're trying to make our way back up. Do I get very positive about this? No, not yet. Yes, on one hand, it's showing me that it's pushing higher. It has the momentum. At least it seems like it has the momentum to the upside. So if we look at it from the short-term perspective, we see that it's still below this little short-term downside line. So in a way, the very short-term trend is to the downside. On the other hand, we also have this little acceleration here, so it kind of forms somewhat of a weird bullish flag, because this falling channel, kind of in a way, we could class it as a bullish flag with the help of this little area. And if that's the case, then certainly yes, we could see some higher levels getting hit. But we need a confirmation break through this downside line and the 50-day EMA, which so far has been a good area of resistance. So if we do clear those two, I will consider a little bit of a move to the upside. Maybe not much, but still maybe at least initially towards the 100-day EMA here on my daily chart. And very quickly on natural gas. Natural gas is near key resistance around the 4.69 zone. So if we do clear this, a forthcoming higher high will be confirmed. Yeah, we could then aim for that psychological 5 level. Initially, of course, for the 4.9, but then for that psychological 5 level. That's what I'm going to aim for. But again, a clearance of this 4.6869 zone is required. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my little quick technical update on commodities, what's happening right now with them. And look, I hope you found it useful. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree or not? But as always, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, have your stop losses in place, risk only what you can afford to lose, don't overtrade, and everything will be fine. And I'll see you next time in my next little video update. Bye for now.